What's going on, Night Nation? We are back after a rough game in Kansas State. I hope we never go back and play Kansas State at Kansas State for quite some time. It's time for them to come to the bounce house. Just really frustrated. But nevertheless, we're 3-1, and things aren't looking as bad as some UCF fans have made it look. I think the UCF fan base as a whole has completely overreacted to that loss, and we're 3-1, and we're going to dive into it, but we're in better shape than it actually looked. We're going to dive into the numbers, kind of look at the game, and just talk about some things that stuck out that might not have, been obvious watching that game. But first, as always, we must bring out tonight's brew of the night. What do we have here? What is this tropical looking can? You might be asking. And this one's pretty interesting. Finally made a trip over to Total Wine. And yeah, they have such a great selection. It's tough. So we got some different brews to try, but this one, is going to be interesting. This is a brewery called Hidden Springs. And it's out of Tampa, Florida. UCF, we are the hometown favorite team in Tampa. And it's pretty cool. It's called Teas in the Trap. It's a Southern iced tea and lemonade sour ale. So it's like a sour. It's kind of like a Arnold Palmer kind of vibe. Is what it's looking like. It's got a lot of like golf balls on the can, palm trees. It's pretty cool. So never been to Hidden Springs. This Hidden Springs ale works, but this looks pretty interesting. And this kind of beer. Whoa! Wow, thing was really flowing. This kind of beer here, what you want, is what you want to know is that these are sours you don't have all the time. You have them, as a refreshing beer once or twice, and then you move on. In the day. So anyway, long story short, we're going to go ahead and give this a ranking. 1 out of 10. 10 being the highest, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. And we'll see where we're at with this. We're going to let it settle a little bit here. I poured it, and it's got a lot of foam. I don't know what happened to this can. It must have got shaken up here, but we'll give it a taste. Let's see what we got. Wow, it's very sour. It's very, very sour. I see a lot of lemonade taste, not so much the Southern iced tea. This is a 5.8%, so not too heavy. I taste a lot of lemon. It's almost like a lemonade sour. It's okay. I would give it a 7.4 out of 10. And that's my final rating on this. You can get it at Total Wine, or if any of the listeners live in Tampa, I'm sure you can get it at the brewery. It's probably better on tap, but I'm not totally in love with it. But anyway, it's time to move on and talk about this game. First of all, the UCF fan base is absolutely overreacting from this loss. We're going to get into everything from the quarterback situation to the way our defense played to officiating and just our fan base and the way that they are so emotional over the littlest things. And it's pretty shocking, but it's not. It's not. And we go to, UCF's a huge school, so you're going to get a variety of people and a variety of personalities and takes on UCF football. And I think during the game, with emotions flowing, people say things they probably don't mean. But nevertheless, let's take a look. So, our offense. Well, we ran the ball and passed for a pretty decent amount. Our passing numbers were skewed. Ja'Cory threw that one pass for 82 yards for a touchdown. But we really only passed for 197 total yards on 13 pass completions. So if you take that 82-yard strikeout, we barely passed for over 100 yards. So not great. Rushing was a different story. Finally, Miles Montgomery had a good game. He rushed for 10 carries for 119 yards and a touchdown. 10 carries for 119 yards. And as a team, we rushed for 205 yards, 1 TD and 6.2 yards a carry. So we're averaging 6.2 yards a carry. It was Nixon that had the touchdown. It wasn't Montgomery. So, but it's a good little approach, 1 and 2 punch. But Miles finally hit over 100. Good to see. But the 6.2 yards a carry was fantastic on the ground. But I think we really started to pick up in the second half, and we were playing catch up. For a second there, I thought Gus Malzahn was calling some of these plays when we're down big and we're running the ball, getting stuffed, running the clock. Didn't love that. But overall, we had QBs that got injured, right? So Taven goes down. He has his shoulder pads off. It looks like his day's over. Ja'Cory comes in and was absolutely horrible. But we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. And our receivers as a whole were pretty much bottled up the entire game. Some of that was play calling. I mean, all of our passes were pretty much dink and dunk. We didn't really take shots down the field, which is so frustrating because either take the shot down the field once in a while on a drive, stretch the defense, maybe get a PI, or a big splash play. And we just really weren't doing that. And we were doing a lot of dinking and dunking. And it was obvious. And the defense started to tee up and tee off on our receivers. So we really didn't have a really good game. DJ Black had that one splash play with Ja'Cory. That could have been picked off. Got lucky it went through, and then he was gone for a touchdown, which was good to see some splash plays. Same with Isaiah Nixon. He had a nice splash play too. But overall, we had 402 total yards on offense. If you told me we were going to have 402 total yards of offense versus Kansas State at Kansas State, I would have said, yeah, we blew them out, right? Right? But no, it wasn't the case. We didn't because they had 434 yards, total yards on us. It looked like a Ted Roof defense for a second. But it was really a mixture of passing. They threw for 168 passing yards on our secondary, but the rushing was the killer. 266 rushing yards. Once again, the linebackers are MIA, besides Lewis Carter. Kelly Lawson, I don't know. The verdict's out. I don't know. 4 total tackles I think he had. He just wasn't making plays. He was slow. He was out of position. We got gashed for 266 yards. Now, let's look at K-State's offense real quick. They ran the ball too much to my liking, and our defense couldn't stop them. They ran for 266 yards. Our defense let up 266 yards. That's not going to get it done. Now, one thing that people in the national media are not really analyzing here is that this K-State team, 1, was picked to be a Big 12 contender a few weeks ago before the season started. 2, they lost a close one to Iowa State, a very quality team, in Dublin. 3, their RB1, Dylan Edwards, has been out all year. Of course it's the game UCF plays Kansas State. They trot out Dylan Edwards. He's ready to roll for the Big 12 opener because they played Arizona, who is in the Big 12. But that game was originally scheduled before Arizona was in the Big 12. So it didn't count towards the Big 12 standings. So even though they took that L to Arizona, this was a fresh start. And they bring out Dylan Edwards, and he has a game that's like, this is the hype that they were making it seem this guy was going to be able to do it. Of course he does it against UCF's defense. Of course, right? He had a huge impact, and I was wrong. I thought he'd be kind of coming off injury. They might have him limited. Not the case. He had 20 carries for 166 yards and a touchdown. Now, he did have a 75-yard long run. That was the backbreaker that killed us. We had some momentum shifting, and we were right in this thing. It was closer than people think. I think for the most part, this game could have went either way, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But their running back was a huge factor that most people won't remember. They'll just see, oh, UCF lost. Oh, they're bad. They're 3-1, but they're really not 3-1 team. They're bad. They're going to be bad. That's kind of what everybody wants to do, is write us off, and it's not over yet. But QB Avery Johnson, he killed us on the ground. He had 12 rushes for 75 yards. It's like, what bothers me so much watching UCF defense is like, we're playing a mobile team. We got them 3rd and 12. We need a turnover. We need to stop. We just need to stop. We just need to get them off the field. And what do? Everybody's playing man, and nobody's accounting for the quarterback. And the quarterback steps up, sees a huge gap, runs up the field for a nice first down every time. It's a killer. It's a backbreaker. And they kept doing it. Nobody was spying on Avery Johnson. Very frustrating to see. And when we did bring pressure, they picked it up, and he would just throw to the open guy. It was like obvious. I don't know. It was just very frustrating to watch. But overall, their receiver one killed us. Jerron Tibbs. I mean, I said it before reviewing this opponent. We knew their we knew their receiver one was Tibbs. He torched us for 8 catches for 72 yards. 8 catches? This is like Justin Jefferson numbers. This is like Malik Neighbors. This is like Jamar Chase. You're giving him 8 receptions. He had 8 catches. It's like they were going consistently to him, and we had no answer for that. So that's frustrating. Now, another thing, turnovers. Jeez, Ja'Cory Brown. He fumbled the ball twice, and he threw a pick. He was 1 for 2 in pass completions. If I have to repeat this, I'll repeat it again. I said it a long time ago. We should move Ja'Cory to running back or receiver. I said receiver. He's fast. Get him the ball, but we cannot have him playing quarterback for the University of Central Florida anymore. He should never play another down at quarterback for UCF. If Taven can't go, it's Fancher. If Fancher can't go, it's Davy Belfort. If Belfort can't go, it's one of the walk-ons on the team that I don't even know his name. But Ja'Cory cannot throw the ball, and he turns it over. He's absolutely reckless. He can't read defenses, and he's costing us games, and he's ruining our Big 12 chance every single chance he gets. And he doesn't mean to do it, but he's not a quarterback at this level. Maybe he was in high school, but, this is a different world. And we're getting eaten alive out here, and it's frustrating. And Taven Jackson turned the ball over once too. So we're turning the ball over way too much. Special teams, our kicker was good, so was theirs. Our punter was good. Their punter had the day of his life. He had the game of his life. Of course he does. Of course he breaks all the averages that he normally is under a 40-yard average punt. He punted for over 50 yards in average. Just pinning us back. Flipping field position. We couldn't get a break. Let's look at some of the UCF red flags. And there were some. I mean, everybody points it out, but here's one. How about third down conversions? We were 3 for 13. 3 for 13. Jeez. We were 23% on third down. That says it all. If we converted, double that, near our average, which is under 50%, that's points on the board. We lost it by 2 scores. It could have been much closer. And fourth down, we were 0 for 2. If we convert one of those fourth downs, maybe that's more points. And penalties. Once again, we're penalized. We're a very penalized team. We had 6 penalties, again, for 45 yards. We got to stop with the penalties. I mean, they're killing us. And, turnovers, we went over that. And we lost time of possession, which doesn't always matter, but we lost time of possession 27-32. And, those are the killers. Now, let me, speak on the referees. I love not being a credentialed media member because I am laying into these refs right now. That was the worst officiated game I have ever seen UCF take part in the history of the program. There were blatant holds. Kansas State was holding on most, if not 75% of their run plays. They're holding. They're holding. Their receivers are holding. Their O-linemen's holding. It's obvious. It's clear as day. There were some people on Twitter taking videos and just tagging the Big 12 conference and saying, what are we doing out here? It's like we have to beat the refs, being on the road, and Kansas State, and having a quarterback go down. Everything went wrong that could, basically, in that game, but the refs were killing us. They were absolutely atrocious. The holding was the issue. They were holding so often that it was an absolute outrage to society, and those Big 12 refs every one of those refs should never ref again. They should be demoted. They should be relegated to junior varsity football in Nebraska in the winter. Put them out there. Never again. Put the whistles down. It was horrible. I want to see the reviews. I want those officials to be held accountable. It was horrible. It was horrible, and I'm very frustrated. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's like a meme. It's like, go in there and make it about you, and it's the ref looking at the mirror before the game. And that's what they did. They made it about themselves. They inserted themselves in a game that would have been a great ball game. And to be honest, it was, but it got out of hand, and it got out of hand because, any run that they take, they rip off, nice 15, 20-yard gain because Buddy's holding. It's clear as day. And we do the same thing, and we get a penalty, right? So it's like you got to call it both ways or you don't need to call it. It's one or the other, but you can't call it one way and not the other. They called it one way. It was so unevenly distributed that it hurt UCF tremendously. So for us really to be down by one score, because we were so close, we had time, we got the ball back, we were going to go score, get a stop, we had all our timeouts, but we didn't convert the fourth down, but the penalties were the killer. It was the penalties. We were shooting ourselves in the foot consistently. So overall, UCF did a lot of things pretty well. If Gus Malzahn was coaching this team, it would have been so much worse. It would have been an absolute thrashing, kind of like it was when he was, our head coach, and we went there to Manhattan. But the point is this: we're 3-1. Okay, go back to my prediction before the season started. I said we would lose this game on the road. We lost the game on the road. No problem. We're still 3-1. I still have us at 9-3. And we still have a chance at the Big 12 championship. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you really look at this, if Taven Jackson didn't get hurt, and if we had some reasonable ref in this game would have been a completely different ball game. Completely different ball game. And, to be honest, they got lucky. They got lucky on a lot of their plays. They got lucky, a couple questionable calls again by the refs. That really hurt this outcome. But at the end of the day, you know what? It's one game. We're 3-1. We control our destiny, and we have Kansas coming to the bounce house on Saturday. And guess what? If you don't think this UCF team is going to be ready to go, bounce house packed and rocking, you got something coming. So I'm really excited for that. I know UCF's really, really eager to get back on the field. But yeah, we'll be okay. And if Jackson can't go, it's Fancher. But Ja'Cory Brown cannot see the field again at quarterback for the University of Central Florida ever again. If he does, I am going to have a hard time watching the TV, and my neighbor's not complaining about how loud I'd be yelling because I would just be absolutely frustrated as a fan. Oh, well, in this case, it'd be in person for the home games. But yeah, hopefully not. So anyway, long story short, relax. We're 3-1. We got Kansas coming up. I'm going to give my prediction video later this week, breaking down that opponent. But I do have us winning that game. We would be 4-1. We would be 1-1 in the Big 12, right in the mix. Let's go UCF, charge on, And we'll talk soon. All right, Night Nation.